What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Leave It to the Judges MMA show. I'm here with the boys Nick and Xavier. Guys, today we're gonna be recapping UFC 310. Great night of fights. Definitely lived up to the hype. A lot of storylines to talk about. As always, guys, we're gonna start at the tippy top of the main card. We're gonna start in the main event. Pantoja submits Kai Asakura 2 minutes into the second round. I'm pretty sure we all picked Pantoja, right, on this one.
I actually, on the original, yeah, predictions vid, yeah, because we were all like Kaiju unproven, but I don't know, man. I got swayed, bro. I did get swayed. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was kind of wishful thinking, maybe, or just like maybe wanting to see some crazy shit. But I definitely bet on Kai a little bit, a little sprinkle. I was doing good in the night. I had to get a little greedy.
Yellow cocky. It's okay.
Got a little greedy, but yeah.
But yeah, Asakura for his UFC debut, he did get finished. He didn't have too much success offensively. I thought his grappling was okay. He looked really quick in there. Those flying knees looked sick, but Pantoja's a tank. He ate it all. I thought Pantoja's stand up in the first round was also really impressive. He got the back in the end and submitted him. What are you guys' thoughts on the fight?
Go ahead, Clark.
Antoja just looked good out there. That's all there is to say. I mean, it's what I expected, really. I figured once this thing got to the ground, Pantoja's gonna find the choke. But I'll give Kai credit; he was much better in the scrambling than I thought he would be. But overall, I thought Pantoja looked good all around. Even on the feet, I thought he won that first round. It was close, but I gave it to him for the last minute. I thought he controlled well. Um, he just seemed to, man, he just has this swagger about him. Just walks people down. Doesn't seem like he cares in there to get hit. Just real Terminator vibes. And I fuck with him. I fuck with him for that. But I don't know. There's not much to say. He got an early finish. He looked good doing it. Um, Kai was just outmatched. But that's what we figured going into this. So impressive. I was impressed by Kai for what he did, for the most part. I think he got a little tired, maybe exploding too much. And I feel like if Pantoja didn't get the choke second round, it was going to be over third, I feel. But I thought both performed well, but Pantoja just another level.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I thought that yeah, like you said, Pantoja just kind of showed like you can't just jump from another promotion and think you're gonna just storm the UFC champion, you know what I mean? Like the UFC is like a different tier for sure. And I thought that this was a good representation of that. I thought that Kai proved that he was like UFC level. He didn't look like outclassed necessarily. He was just like a step behind. Um He's like 31, I think. So I mean, like, I think he has enough time to maybe make another push, especially if he gets a little bit more UFC experience. I think he got the rub. Now he knows like the different level, knows where he has to get. So I think that this loss will be good for him overall. He didn't take too much damage. Um, but yeah, he was just kind of outclassed in the grappling. Um, Pantoja did kind of walk him down, which I mean, early on, Pantoja like dangerous as fuck. The only questions that like I kind of had, I never thought that Kai could win a decision against Pantoja. I kind of thought that like his only chance would be like maybe in the third or fourth round if like Pantoja starts to gas a little bit, maybe he can get caught with something. But clearly it never got there, so I guess we'll never know. Props to Pantoja for defending the UFC's good name and defending himself, man. I feel like for as dominant as he's been, I feel like he constantly gets disrespected by us as well, partially. Even though we always give him props, but we always kind of doubt him on his cardio. Um, he just seems like so beatable while being so dominant at the same time. Um, so props to him for always like being a grit man and pulling it through somehow. But he didn't really need that grit today. He just, showed that there's levels to this game, and I respect him for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Kaya Sakura, he's here to stay. Definitely. I don't think it's just a one and done thing. They did sign him What are some names you guys want to see Kai Asakura fight in the near future?
Based on how he did in this fight, um, I would have said, I've been throwing around Kai Kara France, but I kind of think that that might be a bad move considering how he did in this fight. Not to say that he couldn't win that fight, obviously, but I don't think that that's necessarily the smartest play. Maybe build him up a little bit slower, throw him like a Urseg type or
That was my pick.
Urseg or like Tim Elliott. You know what I mean? Let him get his feet under him. Get a win, get some momentum, get some experience. Get more used to the UFC environment and shit. So that he can make like a proper run again. And I don't think it would take too many fights. Maybe like 3 fights. He can be back in a title shot. Honestly, pretty like the division's like starving for contenders. So you throw a couple impressive performances together, you'll be back in there again.
Yeah, stylistically, I like Urseg as well. I would even say a fun fight for me. I'll keep pushing this man's name, but Bruno Silva, man, get him in some exciting fights. He can smack. He can smack.
Definitely. All right, let's move on to the champ, though. This one's a little trickier because Pantosha's beaten damn near everyone at least once. So a couple of these guys multiple times. And like it was this division's so thin they had to get a guy from Japan to fight him. So shout out Pants for clearing out his division. He called out DJ. I thought it was a stupid call out. I don't like when people call out retired fighters. DJ is never gonna come back to take this fight. But realistically, who do you want to see step up for the title next? Kaikar France is coming off the biggest notable win, arguably. Moreno had the nice win against Albazi, but Pantosha's beaten him 3 times. Who do you guys want to see Pantoja fight next, or who do you think should fight him next?
I mean, I know that it will be kind of like slimy coming off a loss, but I mean, I would most be interested in a Cape fight personally.
Well, Cape fights next week, so if he wins
Oh,
that,
who's he fight? Oh,
Silva.
Bruno Silva.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he wins that in like a impressive fashion, I would say slide it to Cape, honestly. Because like you said, Brandon Moreno is the most deserving right now, but at the same time, you can't give it to him because he's kind of in that Max Holloway Volk situation where he was beating everybody else, but we've seen the fight so many times we can't justify it. So Brandon Moreno's damn near gonna have to wait until Pantoja loses to get another crack at the title.
Oh wait, Bruno Silva's fighting Cape.
Oh, yes. It just all
Okay,
clicked for us.
okay. Bruno Silva, get him in the title shot if he knocks Cape out.
So you guys are saying the winner of that fight.
I
Yeah,
like that, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, Cape's been on people's radars for a while.
but I mean,
Um,
see, when you think about it, like the number 12 guy fighting the number 9 guy getting a title shot, that just shows the state of the division. To be honest, like what other divisions really like that besides light heavyweight at this point, where like these low ranked guys are like one fight away from a title shot. Like it's kind of crazy.
and
I
I
mean,
think this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Clark.
I would like if I'd have to pick someone like at the top, I would say Cara France just because he beat Ursek, who was in the title fight not too long ago. That's the only reason I'd say Cara France
They can run that one back.
up there. But like, I would want to see maybe Cara France fight Moreno just for the shot
Okay.
rematch.
On Pantoja's social media, he teased maybe fighting the winner of Umar versus Marab. I've seen some people talking about Figgy dropping back down, maybe because he does have a win over Pantoja back in 2019. He 30-27'd him. So you have some options of him going up to 35, fighting some people, or people going back down. I would like to see him stay at 125. I think him at 135, he's just too tiny, man. It is what it is. I don't think he'd do that well at
I
135.
I agree. I mean, I would love to see like it would be the most compelling thing he can do is to go up, but I just don't like how I think he would fare up there. Because even Figueiredo, who's like I would argue like a lot stronger than him physically, even he is kind of undersized up there. as we were kind of finding out against the higher level guys. So yeah, I think I believe Pantoja is even smaller than him. So yeah, I don't like how he would do against most of these guys in my mind, but I just don't think he'll be able to like bully them to the ground as much as he can these flyweights.
Oh, let's see. Anything else on this one, guys?
Oh no, but just props to Pantoja, man. Keep doing the fucking damn thing, man. Like I think he's like a far cry away from being like the flyweight GOAT. I feel like that's kind of an untouchable feat.
Yeah.
But he's like damn near number two at this point.
Yeah,
I,
11 the title defenses for DJ is pretty untouchable.
I mean, at
And
least we think it is. At least we think it is until fucking Pantoja keeps rolling, man. Fuck.
I believe Pantoja's at 3 or 4. So he's not really close, but he's doing the damn thing. Let's move on, guys, to the co-main event. Ooh, we got a lot to talk about in this one. Crazy stuff going on. Ian Machado, Gary did show out, but at the end of the day, Shavkat Rakhmonov got the job done. I believe what rounds did he win? 1, 2, and 5.
One,
Four.
2, and 4.
1, 2, and 4. Gary got 3 and 5. Almost got the finish with that choke a couple times. Here are the numbers, guys. Clark, we're gonna start with you, buddy. Rakhmonov is one of your favorite fighters. He's in your starting 5.
Oh
What are your
yeah,
thoughts on your boy?
he got the dub, didn't he? Now I'm hearing he didn't do enough and all this. He's not gonna be Bilal now. He went out there, and I'll admit, I think he played it safe. I think he kind of played it safe just to get the title shot. And you know what? Some fighters have off days. They don't have perfect days. But he went out there and he just did a little more to get the win. I mean, that's all there is to it. It was a chess match, high level shit going on out there. They're training partners, so I felt like they almost were hesitant to like exchange because of what happened in the gym, maybe. And so I don't think we saw either at their best, but I feel like both of them performed well. Like it was a high level fight and they kind of stalled each other. But I feel like throughout the fight, Shavkat had the bigger moments on the feet for sure. Like Ian had a little success in that third round, but besides that, I feel like Rachmanov just had the power edge throughout the whole fight. I feel like he was cracking Gary very early on in that fight, and that's how he was able to win those early rounds. Just bank them, just with the bigger moments. He didn't have to do a lot, honestly, because Gary was kind of waiting. I felt like, and just wouldn't commit to his shots. I felt Rachmanov was just committing a little more than Gary was, and that's why I felt like he won the fight. Now, like a little disappointing, he didn't get the finish and maybe not look better. But I mean, I feel like this just proves Gary's a better fighter than we thought he was. That's all that shows me, and he was undefeated. So I see it as a good win. I see it as Shavkat pushing a hard 5, which we didn't know if he could, but he did. And it was a hard 5. There was a lot of wrestling involved and scrambling, so it was definitely a hard 5. And so I was impressed by both. But my man Shavkat got it done once again, just like he'll do to Bilal. Bilal looked fine in there, by the way. He was supposed to be there, but I guess he couldn't show up. He was just walking around fine for that face off last time I checked. So I think he was just running from that fight, but we'll see you next, Bilal. See you next.
Hell yeah. I left like you said, I left this fight more impressed with Ian Gary than I was disappointed with Shavkat. I did think that like the fight would play out a little differently in the grappling, which tells me that, you know, Ian Gary training with Charles Oliveira, traveling the world and shit. He's getting a lot better in the grappling department. And honestly, he came the closest to finishing the fight. So I'll give him that with his rear naked choke attempt in round five. I thought that it was pretty bad. And he had
I
like
was shitting my pants, bro.
he had several minutes. I thought the parlay was fucking chalked, bro. I was like, no, but like Rachmanov stayed calm in there, stayed composed, and eventually just eased his way out of there, turned the position. So props to him. I thought that most of this fight kind of gave me spar vibes. I kind of think that like it was hard for them to get out of like the sparring room mentality. It seemed like they kind of didn't want to hurt each other or like at least were like tentative. I think they showed each other more respect than they kind of needed to, and it kind of made for like some less than eventful early rounds. I thought that in the first two rounds, Ian Gary looked a little more slick on the feet. He was touching Rachmanov up a little bit, but it was like kind of uneventful. He was like outlanding him a little bit on the numbers, but then like late in the rounds, there would always be a moment where Rachmanov would land like one decisive strike that was like obviously the biggest strike of the round every time, and like it would just kind of clearly steal him the round. And kind of nothing rounds, kind of like loose sparring rounds. Um, I will say that like for the most part, the Ian Gary fifth round was the most dominant round of the fight. It was the most decisive round to me. But it was still only like a 10-9, so it doesn't really matter in this sport, you know what I mean? How you win the round as long as you win the round for the most part. Um Really impressed with Ian Gary's grappling. I think he was like he only got taken down 2 times out of 10. So that impressed me. I think that the biggest factor here was just the strength of Shavkat in the clinch. He was able to kind of like manhandle Gary and kind of hold him against the cage. Basically, karma's a bitch, bro, because that's literally what fucking how Ian Gary beat MVP like a fight ago, just kind of being shameless, munging him against the fence and kind of just holding him there. So, what goes around comes around in this game, and he just got his due. I know it wasn't the most for casuals, I bet it wasn't the most like exciting fight at all, but like for the diehards, man, you know that this is some high level shit, and I think that like if you're an actual fan of the sport, you can appreciate like closely contested, thin margin for error fights like this. In the moment, I was not like disappointed in the fight. I was like, on the edge of my seat as to what was gonna happen. So I fucked with the fight, and I think that both guys rose their stock in their own way. It was kind of like the ideal thing where like Ian Gary didn't he like gained stock in a loss, and then like Rachmanov, you know, just got some extra cage time. So like you said in the lead up to this fight, Clark, he wasn't like on a fat layoff going into a title shot. I think both guys benefited here. Didn't seem like anyone got hurt in any significant way, so they should be able to turn it around pretty quick and like yeah, I don't know, pretty ideal ending. I don't think the UFC would have wanted Shavkat to like lose this fight and lose some of the shine on him. I think that they're pretty intent on pushing him, and then like Ian Gary, a future star, and this only helped his case. So I think that it was like wins all around for this one.
Yeah, I maybe my expectations were a little too high. I was expecting this to be like a war, and I thought it would end early. First of all, with Shavkat, I don't knock him at all for not finishing Ian Gary. Like you just can't go like 25-0 with all finishes. I was disappointed with his performance. I will say that. I'm not shitting on Rachmanov. I was just disappointed. I think his boogeyman like invincibility aura is gone for now. He damn near got finished and lost 2 rounds. And Ian Gary, I'm gonna eat crow. He looked great in there he had great moments. I was wrong on him. I guess he is kind of championship level. I don't know. He's still ranked pretty low, but yeah, his stock definitely skyrocketed from this L. He was never really hurt or in trouble to get finished that much. He had the biggest moment of the fight by far. And yeah, I think they both have bright futures. Rachmanov, his performance regarding the Bilal fight, I'm still gonna lean Rachmanov. It did make the odds tighten up a little, but the reason I'm still leaning Rachmanov, the way Bilal wins fights is by getting takedowns and sitting on people. I just don't think I just don't know if you can do that to Rachmanov. And on the feet, I think Rachmanov's a better striker than Bilal. I don't even really remember Ian Gary getting a takedown, to be honest. But
He didn't get
I would.
rounds. It was kind of like a stumble, and then he kind of just capitalized.
Okay. So yeah, I could still see Bilal getting on top, but he's not going to be able to do what he did to Leon Edwards with Shavkat, just constant takedowns. So yeah, I mean, both guys are in fine positions. Shavkat may not be like the super scary boogeyman anymore, but he's up next and he's still undefeated. And Ian Gary, like I said, is has a bright future too.
Big facts. So
Um,
what do you guys think is next for Ian Gary after this one? Like, what would you guys?
Leon Edwards.
Ooh,
For sure. They've sparred in the past before. Leon wants to headline the London card in March. Ian Gary's stock just freaking flew through the roof. Bunch of casuals know who he is now, and yeah, him versus Leon. If he beat Leon, he'd jump like 6 people, so it'd be perfect for him. I think Leon is a good one. 5 round main event.
I would think. I'm looking at it now. I would like to see him. I mean, I know Kobe's tied up right now. I would have liked to see him run a Kobe fight, just bump Kobe down a little bit. Um,
Buckley gonna do that next week. It's all good.
if for some reason Buckley is able to fucking,
Buckley's gonna win.
if for some reason Buckley is able to upset Kobe Covington, if Kobe Covington's truly done and he jumps Ian Gary and Buckley jumps Gary in the rankings, I would like to see them run that. I know they had an exchange like some time ago where like Buckley was like basically telling Gary like they should fight, and then Gary was basically saying like, you know, you're doing good work and all, but like, well, I'm trying to climb up the ranks. Why would I fight down? You know, so it would be kind of poetic if like Ian Gary has to fight Buckley to like actually rise up the rankings. It'll be kind of funny. So I would fuck with that. Just like the storyline nature of it. I feel like that's a pretty winnable fight for Gary. So depending on like the result next week, that's what I would kind of more so want to see Ian Gary do. Just because I mean for as weak as Leon looked in his last fight, like he's still Leon Edwards. I don't think that was like representative of like where he's at as a martial artist. He's still like pretty young, so I think he just had a bad performance. So I don't know if I want to see Ian Gary necessarily take 2 losses in a row, which is very possible in the Leon Edwards fight. So I think giving him kind of a not softball fight because we've clearly seen that he's like super legit high level, top 5 caliber at least. But I mean, like just a slight step down in comp would kind of do him well, fine tune his skills, get his confidence. Not to say he lost any confidence, but just get him back on a roll. I think that would be in the best interest of the UFC and him. So yeah, I would say Buckley next, the winner of Buckley Covington next for him, if I had to book it.
About you, Clark.
Yeah, I like Leon. I like Leon.
Clark. So Clark, you said that your opinion on the fight, like it hasn't changed at all with Bilal now with Shavkat, right?
0.
Okay. What do you think, Xavier? What's your take on it? I would still pick Shavkat, but I think the odds have tightened a lot.
Yeah, I think that this showed me that, yeah, it's not going to be as easy as we might have assumed it would be. Especially like Bilal looked like one of his last performance against Leon was like one of the best performances I've ever seen off
Oh, that's the
him.
best we've ever seen him.
Yeah, so he literally was like super active with the hands as well, which he never is, honestly. And I think that based on like the lack of activity that I saw in the striking in this fight, um, there's the potential that like Bilal might be able to like overwhelm him with like volume, even if it's not like the most damaging shit. I just know that if Bilal fights like he fought the last fight, Shavkat's gonna have to like up the ante in the striking department to get that win. And based on like just this last performance, the volume wasn't really there against Gary. There could be a lot of factors for that, like the training room experience, the respect factor. Large parts of this fight did kind of seem like Shavkat was missing the like malicious intent, killer instinct that we kind of have grown accustomed to seeing off him. So, I mean, maybe he just doesn't like Bilal and like, gets a little meaner, a little aggressiver in there. But just off this last performance, I will say like my confidence level did like go down a little bit. Not in him specifically, but just like his ability to beat Bilal. I still would favor him, but like by a lot less than I would have going into this fight, honestly.
There's a reason I like not changed my mind at all. It's a different. It has nothing to do with this fight. What happened in that fight means nothing to me, honestly. Like based on a matchup between Bilal and Shavkat, because Shavkat's a guy who likes to who likes guys to kind of pull into his like striking range in the middle of the octagon, which I feel like is what Bilal tries to do. He tries to come forward, but he's gonna struggle against someone like Shavkat who likes the fight brung to him. Like he's not gonna back down from that. Like he's gonna be active. Like Ian Gary didn't bring the fight to him. He was standing in the middle the whole time. I mean, I just feel like matchup wise, like Bilal's gonna do the same thing he did with Leon Edwards. He's gonna come forward, try to throw some lazy down the middle punches, and try to get a takedown, and that's it. But that's all he has. Like after that, like what if he gets stuck? What does he do then? He just gets dominated the rest of the fight. Like that's why I feel like it's not going to be a problem for Shavkat even if he gets taken down. But he has 100% takedown defense still. He's never been taken down. And I feel like he's one of those guys, even if he gets taken down, he can get back up. I mean, I thought it was gangster as shit. He wasn't even fighting the hands. He was that confident. Man just had his neck there, like literally just trying to get the legs up. Like he just sat in it. Like that was gangster as shit to me. Like that he did that and just reversed it. Like I feel like that shows me more. That shows me grit. Like it shows me enough to go into a Bilal fight because I do feel like this was sparring respect in a lot of the fight. And I feel like against Bilal, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be a different animal. And like I said before, I think he tried to play it safe. Like I feel like he wanted to guarantee his like title shot more than like trying to get a crazy finish out there. I feel like he just wanted to secure it. But when it comes down to the title shot, the actual fight, he's gonna go for it, no doubt.
No, I feel that. I need to see Rachmanov. I'd love to see him way more aggressive on the feet against Bilal, which I think he will be because Bilal's stand up is much worse than Gary's. Also, man, freaking lightweight goats, Habib and Charles Oliveira. Stop helping these welterweights I fucking hate get better at fighting. Stop helping them, bro. No, I'm just kidding. But let's move on, guys. Oh, that looks bad. We got to talk about probably the most controversial thing that happened all night. We got a robbery, folks. In broad daylight in Las Vegas, we got a robbery. Ciro Gane has robbed Volkov.
Someone,
Clark don't give a shit, bro. Clark,
man, like, who cares? Like,
he
look,
looked
I'll get this started. I thought, and I'm a gun guy. As usual in Club Clark, we get dubs. We get the dubs. But I do think he lost that fight. I do think he lost. Um, early on, I'm forgetting round one. What happened in
he
round
looked
one?
good in round one. He got a takedown, went for that heel hook. He won round one,
Okay,
and it was
okay.
all downhill from there.
Yeah, and then round two, I do feel like he broke his toe. Like I've never seen Gon just stand in front of an opponent and just like take the strikes. He's usually moving around. He's usually light on his feet, but he was just plotting and standing there right in front of Volkov, who was a big man. He seemed off on the feet in this fight, and it makes sense if what he's saying is true and he broke his toe. It makes sense. And, it was very clear Volkov won the third round just by kind of taking him down, just holding him there. Gon was trying to hold on to Kimura maybe, but didn't seem like he ever had it. I don't know. It was just kind of it was a close fight, I will say. I don't think it's like super bad. Like I think Volkov won, but like round two, I mean, I think Volkov won it, but it was close. It wasn't like a total like landslide in the second, so I, I don't think it's as bad as people are thinking it is. But I will say it is a slight robbery for sure. But you know what? That's what Volkov gets for making the third round boring. Let's just say what it
Oh,
is.
whoa,
The
bro.
judge,
Cyril Gahn made the first
hey,
third round boring.
what do you mean? He was
He
trying to
held a
get the fourth
Kimura for
round.
4 minutes that he was clearly never gonna get.
Ed, his right leg was trapped. What was
Oh
he
my
supposed
god,
to
bro.
do?
Let go of
His,
the Kimura.
I
Let
mean,
go of the Kimura.
I mean, his toe is broken. I don't think he wanted to get up. That's the thing. Like, that's what we and Clark were saying. Like, the vibe of the fight to me was just that his foot was broken. Like, we've never seen his movement that compromised. He started off the fight bouncing around, so obviously, like, it wasn't like a different strat this time to not bounce around. It's just like, come second round, he kind of like was a lot more stagnant in his movement. Um, he was a lot less forward. He was kind of trying to like counter strike, which like led to Volkov starting to like pull away on the numbers a little bit, getting those long range jabs off. He wasn't really doing anything damaging for the most part. It was just kind of like touching him a little bit. I think Gon's insistence on grappling in this fight does have more to do with like this broken toe than like some great confidence in like his new grappling skills. You know what I mean? I think he was more grappling out of like necessity. I think he knew that his like foot was fucked, and like the longer that they were on the feet, the more that would get exposed. Because like you said, Ed, that Kimura after like the first minute, I was like, you're not getting this, man. At first, I thought maybe he would be able to torque it and use that strength. He had a solid angle on it, but like Volkov too, experienced in that position,
Yeah.
kept the arm tucked and like slowly like shimmied, gone out of position to the point where at this point basically all he was doing is kind of stalling. And I was like, you can't win a round like this, even though not much is happening. It's like that clearly was a round that Volkov had to win, even with like him just like with his offhand, just kind of like slapping, doing like little non-significant strikes, but like you're doing something, and like Gon's doing absolutely nothing in that round. Um, when I saw the splitty, I was like, oh, they're gonna like they might fuck him. The UFC likes to push agendas, and
I
they're
didn't
all
see it
about
coming.
that. They're all about that Cyril Gane agenda, but I didn't think they would be this shameless for sure.
I had a question. I had a question. So those first 3 minutes of that, he got the. Okay, first question. When did Volkov get this takedown in that last round? Like, how much time was on the clock?
I think it was early.
I mean, it seemed like that Kimura was in for all of like 4 whole minutes. So
I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think it was early.
Okay. My next question is, should the ref have stood them up? I say yes. There was nothing going on. I don't think Volkov deserved the position. He wasn't doing anything.
It,
Like, it was a stalemate to me. I feel like it's 100%, or at least like a warning to do something. Like, they were just sitting there.
I mean, yeah, but it's on both of them.
But I blame the ref there.
I
Oh,
would
okay.
say like,
Yeah.
maybe after like 3 fucking minutes, I would have been like, yo, you gotta do something, bro. I gave you every chance to finish this shit, or to like for you Volkov to get out of it and land some ground and pound, but neither thing is happening, so fuck it. I'm
I,
standing
a
honestly.
stand up would have been warranted. We saw a stand up kind of similar in the Kron Gracie fight. Now, granted, that fight was literally all just, it was a terrible fight. It was just all sitting on each other. So, yeah, I don't think it would have been that bad after 3 minutes. Like, yeah, stand him up. My issue is, bro, with Gon, I understand he broke his foot, and that absolutely takes a part in it. I give him that. I'll give him that leeway. But, bro, it's 1-1. You could still win this fight. And you're holding on a Kimura for 3 minutes doing nothing. You're not getting that Kimura on Volkov. You're selling the fight. It's 1-1 still. You could still win, even if your foot's broken or toe or whatever. That was my big issue with Gon.
I know, but they should have been stood up. They should have
Yeah, I
been
mean,
stood up.
yeah. But
Yeah, you
all
know,
right, let's talk about
low
just
IQ from Gone. Low IQ from Gone.
It was a low IQ moment, but
He deserved to lose more because like to me, he deserved to lose more because of his own decisions than anything Volkov did to him, particularly. It was like one of those like just you're doing the wrong things that like lose you fights. Like holding on to a Kimura that you're not gonna get. Which is basically even though like you're threatening the submission, like Volkov is just leaning on top of you, so he's in the more dominant position if nothing happens, right? Just like little shit like that, little details like that win you fights, and like it's just poor IQ. With more experience, you learn those things, but if you don't get these losses that you're supposed to get, will he ever learn? Like, I don't know. Does he think that this is just like okay and like how this is acceptable in terms of winning fights? Like, because it definitely isn't.
I will say that I did like Gon's offensive grappling, especially in that first round. He really needs to work on defensive still, but I loved him mixing in the takedowns. He's a pretty good. He can take these fat heavyweights down, man. Not calling Volkov fat, but
He's definitely explosive and strong.
yeah. Oh yeah,
Um,
he's an athlete. Yeah.
I think that he's got to give up on that heel hook dream, bro. I know he got one against some low level fucker when he first debuted or whatever. Like, but besides that, you gotta stop. That is not like a go to move that you're gonna hit on these high level guys. Like you ain't getting fucking Aspinall with no fucking
I was hating that when he did that. I was like, "What are you doing, bro?"
I
because
thought it was cool, but
he
like,
was winning the round perfectly fine to that point. I was like, what are you doing?
but guys, we have to talk about the aftermath effects of this fight. What the hell is going to happen with heavyweight now? Let's just assume we're just going to assume John Jones and Aspinall are fighting. Regardless of the results, I think John is going to either retire or drop the belt if he wins the fight. Herrera, who's next up for a title shot at heavyweight whenever we get the John Aspinall thing settled out?
I think that if and when John Jones beats Aspinall, I also think that they're gonna let him run the Alex P fight at heavyweight just to get another title defense and to like offer like Pereira the chance to become like a 3 division champ. Like the storyline with that, like there's no reason for like if he were to get past Aspinall, there's no reason for that fight to not take place at heavyweight. Alex Pereira is like a good 240, 235 anyway,
And he used to
naturally.
kickbox there too.
Yeah, around John Jones' weight. So it's like, um, I think that they run that fight at heavyweight, and then John Jones retires after that fight. And then I think that the fight goes to one is going to be Tom Aspinall in the vacant title fight, and then whoever else is deserving at that time Which like I guess maybe if Alex Pereira wants to stick around at heavyweight and try again, he can probably run that against Aspinall. Or at that point, it's gonna have to be probably Cyril Gahn, who by that point ideally would have picked up another win that looks a little more convincing than this one, because this one was fried. I thought that Volkov would have had a great case had he won this fight, which like he did really, but like even if he did win it, how lackluster the fight was and how like undecisive and undominant it was for either guy. I think they're gonna both need another performance that like recaptivates the fans and the UFC's attention to like actually get them a title shot. Because if not, one like Almeida big finish or like someone else and like boom, they're gonna jump the line over both of these guys for their like because the UFC does not like to reward wins like this, to be honest with you. So
That's true.
That's why this rivalry doesn't matter, y'all. It
yeah,
didn't matter.
I mean, yeah, Aspinall or John just completely destroys these guys. I mean, Aspinall's already beat both of them. All right, though, guys, we got to move on. Unfortunately, we have to talk about this fight. Probably the worst fight I've ever seen in my life. Kron Gracie versus Bryce
I
Mitchell.
don't know.
Bryce Mitchell gets the finish in the third round, I believe, via slam and then elbow. Kron Gracie is the worst fighter in UFC history. Him and Ryan Hall competing for the ass dragging championships of the world. But
don't forget Aljo as well, but
yeah, but Aljo's good though, at least.
no, we'll get there later. But come on now.
But oh my God, Kron Gracie is the most frustrating fighter ever to watch. Bryce Mitchell, I mean, he did what he should have done. He was just given top position every round. Kron got one armbar attempt, sacrificed the whole fight to try to get in, failed at it. Hopefully he gets cut. What are your guys' thoughts on the fight?
Hopefully he gets cut.
I'm just kidding.
Your thoughts on the fight is hilarious, man. You're just calling for this man's job, bro. Um, I think that Kron Gracie is the definition of a nepo baby. I was telling my brother like the nepotism is strong with this one for sure because he's. I don't even think he would thrive on Bella in a Bell in the Bellator cage or the PFL cage, to be honest with you. So he's definitely not like of the UFC caliber, especially not ranked like ranked and semi-ranked guys like Bryce Mitchell. Um, Literally, you're like for him to win a fight, someone's gonna have to literally stick their head into a submission, like on some Anthony Smith, Victor Petrino shit. And I don't know if like these lighter guys are gonna just be dumb like that. So good luck to him ever getting a fucking UFC win. I don't think he's gonna get cut just because of his last name, but I just do see him just not really fighting. He might just phase away. You know what I mean? Like
I could totally see that.
he might just phase away and just never get offered a fight again and like never get cut either. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, he's gonna be 45 and then they're just gonna randomly announce he's retired. And we're gonna be like, oh fuck, I forgot he was even on the roster. Like it might be one of those missions, honestly. Just because like I think that the UFC's in a tough spot where like they want to do right by his ancestors and like, respect the Gracie name by not cut him, but like also putting him in there does water down like the UFC's good name, and he kind of besmirches the UFC's good name a little bit. So they don't want to keep throwing him out there and water down their reputation. Um, I will say props to Thug Nasty for fucking getting the win. Um, I think that the finish kind of punctualized the fight in a great way. Like not to say like I necessarily like want people to get badly concussed and hurt like he did. But like based on how he was fighting that fight, it was kind of karma that like Bryce put him out viciously. And I was like, yeah, motherfucker. Like I hopped up. I was like hyped as fuck, just because like after like a slog of a fight for 2 rounds, like just to see him like punctuated and actually like get something off that was devastating in a fight that looked like it was destined for a boring decision. Like it was pretty exciting. It created a cool moment in the night. Props to Thug Nasty because that armbar was like in, dude. And like Bryce Mitchell even said that like he thought about tapping. He thought his arm was gonna break, but he was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna tap." Type shit. I'll let the arm break. So that was some real John Jones, Vitor Belfort like activity. level of grit from him. And like I know in his mind he was like, I can't lose to Kron Gracie, bro. This fight was like literally given to him damn near as a softball. It seemed like to get him back on track, get him some momentum going again. Um, like I said earlier in the preview video for this card, like Bryce Mitchell's one of those like fun middle of the division guys. Like I don't want to call him a gatekeeper just yet because I do think he still has potential to make another run potentially, but like he's like one of those like middle of the card litmus test guys in the division for now, and like having him coming off too many losses in a row is just not good for the sport. You know, him and his crazy wacky conspiracies, like he's always drumming up attention and interest online for various reasons, so he's always liable to say some nut shit as well. Like. So I fuck with him getting a win, and like I'm glad that he was able to get a finish and salvage what was a boring ass fight.
I told you. I told you. This was gonna be the worst fight of the night, the worst fight of the year. I knew it because Crone Gracie was fighting in it. It wasn't because of Bryce Mitchell. I knew because Crone Gracie was the opponent. Man, I mean, he should be cut. Let me tell you right now. He should. This should not even have to do with his last name. He should be cut just based on his performances. They've been terrible. They've been terrible. He's looked like this every fight. He does the pulling in shit. Never can latch up a sub. He was close with the armbar, but some like, and that was it though. Like, never threatened anything again. This man, even though he has the famous last name, somehow can find a submission anywhere, which is crazy. Like, because that's all he's apparently can do out there, and he can't
And he can't do that.
It's sad, man.
do that. So, I mean, it's what I expected. Like, I expected Crone to do this pull and guard shit, and Bryce kind of mainly just lay on him most of the fight. It was a nice finish, though. Nice win for Doug Nasty. I've always liked him. Still pretty good record. I think he can find his way up. Definitely have to sharpen up the striking a little bit and all around game, but his
One
wrestling skills are very good. So
one thing I was really bummed out with in this fight was like Kron Gracie, even if you're gonna pull guard, have an active guard. His guard wasn't even that active. Like he wasn't even trying to get his hips involved. He wasn't like trying to create space to like snatch up an arm or do anything. Like I know like Bryce Mitchell obviously was not trying to like overextend himself. He tried to keep his arms in tight and land little short shots that weren't too damaging, but that's what you have to do against a dominant jiu-jitsu player. So I'm not gonna blame him. It's not like he even was getting the takedowns like willingly. Like it's not like he wanted to even I would feel differently maybe a little bit if Bryce was taking him down and then kind of like doing very little in the ground and pound department. But I mean, the fact that like Kron was literally just like spider monkey pulling him down into the guard just to do absolutely nothing. Like the performance was like 100% on Kron. Like the reason the fight looked as boring as it did early, like was completely based on Kron. So I don't fault Bryce Mitchell for like the lack of activity or anything. So he just
I
did. He just did what he had to do.
This was literally, I don't know if you guys remember, it was Ilya Taporia versus Ryan Hall. This was the exact same shit. Ryan Hall just kept going for that like stupid cartwheel ankle pick or
Grab
whatever.
that Grammy roll shit. The little
And
yeah.
then yeah, and then finally Taporia just caught like he just slammed his face into the canvas. He just beat the shit out of him for like this does not work in high level MMA. This like submission only attempts. These guys need these. It's MMA, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Fix your game. Fix your game,
Fix your
Kron.
game.
I mean, he's like 36, bro. It's too late, bro.
Oh, he's done. He's been done.
yeah,
Um, yeah, shout out Bryce Mitchell. He needed that win after that Emmett loss. So, shout out Thug Nasty in the camo shorts. Let's move on to the opener of the main card. Oh, one more thing. Just how that fight played out made it look even worse that Sterling Evil was on the prelim and that was on the main card. That just made everything even worse. But we'll get to that. Let's talk about Nate Landwehr versus Doo-Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy. Gets a dominant finish in between rounds, I believe it was. He looked phenomenal. That lead left uppercut was insane. People forget Doo-Ho Choi had to take a lot of time off, but he used to be a pretty hot prospect at 45. I think he's regaining a lot of value in his name. What are you guys' thoughts on him and his performance?
Y'all must have forgot, okay? And by y'all, I'm talking about the goddamn odds makers. But guess what? It's okay, because people like me, people who know what the fuck going on in this game, can profit off you fuckers, okay? Um, yeah, I have no idea in the lead up why everyone was like thinking that Nate Landwehr was gonna somehow just outdog Duho Choi. First of all, Duo Choi, he trains under the Korean Zombie, man. You know how they like to get down. Very technical, but also they love a good scrap, bro. They love a good scrap. Um, and I think that like from the first minute of the fight, it was very apparent that like Duo Choi was technically superior to Nate Landwehr in like every way in the striking. Just vicious leg kicks, great boxing. He looked slick in there. He looked fast. Um, While Nate Landwehr does usually have like the ability to out cardio, out grit people and like win these dog fights, this never was a dog fight. It was kind of like Duho Choi was just clearly too technical for him. Which is what people kind of were dismissing or like overlooking in the lead up to this fight to me. Duho Choi really technical in there, man. And I mean, because we haven't got to see him because he lost a couple of his years to like the mandatory military service that like the Koreans have to do and shit. But at the end of the day, like clearly he was not like wasting his time in his downtime when he wasn't fighting. He was clearly improving. Um and time off can be good if you're actually in the gym working instead of just taking time off and fucking off or just like not really training. I think when people come back from long layoffs, you can kind of tell like how they like to get down when they're like not fighting and like clearly Duho Choi was still always sharpening his skills because I mean, it can sometimes work to your advantage when you're actually developing new skills and people in the time off, and then like you can bust it out. No one really has tape on you, or like no one has updated tape on you. You can come out and start grappling all of a sudden. Like I don't think anyone was anticipating Duo Choi to dominate the grappling department, and like clearly those are strides that he's made in his game. Um, I thought that Landwehr had a little success early in round three. He clearly had some fight left, clearly had some grit. And I mean, Choi was like, okay, fuck. Like, even though I maybe could, survive on the feet, win the fight, he's like, man, based on how much success I've been having in the damn grappling department, why not take you down again? Boom. Took him down with like 4 minutes left in the round. And I mean, that was it. It was it at that point. Got that crazy crucifix and just like slowly dismantle Landwehr. I mean, he never put him out completely, but like he was just in the crucifix, like
It
eating
was
strikes,
close, right?
like
Yeah, he was in trouble.
helpless. He had already exploded like 4 to 7 times and didn't have too many more explosions left in him. They clearly weren't working, and like it was only gonna get worse for him. So I'm pretty happy with the stoppage. Even though I thought like, oh, he's still in there, give him a chance, but yeah, I mean, save him from himself at the same time as well. Great fucking win for Choi.
Yeah.
Um, he's clearly ready for a fat step up in comp, and I mean, like for Landwehr, I mean, I don't think he lost too much stock in this fight. It's like it's more just people were doubting Duho Choi. I feel like in the lead up, and I'm just glad that they had to eat crow.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, X. Do Choi look good? Uh, I believed coming into the fight he was the more technical striker, and he proved out there. He looked much better than I even thought he was gonna look out there. He looked amazing, looked powerful, and nice combos. Uh, and a nice uppercut in there at one point that I liked a lot from the way he moves and sticks it. But yeah, Landwehr, I feel like he had a hard time with the speed. I feel like he had a hard time figuring out what to do with Choi. I feel like the leg kicks hurt him early as well. So he might have had trouble with his movement, getting his strikes off with the power. And Landwehr he's usually a guy who comes back in the fight and makes it dirty, but it just never really got dirty. Dooku kind of just outclassed him out there. Um, Lambert definitely showed grit. He's always been a grit man. Do Yeah, do got and the takedowns were impressive. I will say. Uh, I've seen him take people down a little bit, but Landwehr I do feel like is a decent wrestler in that aspect. So I was impressed with his wrestling and control as well.
The
He looked
control, the control was big. Like I know he can get people down, but I've never seen him like control someone, especially like someone that like has the scramble ability that Landwehr usually has. So I was really impressed with that too.
So yeah, he's
yeah,
evolving.
and I just feel like yeah, Joy was just the better fighter, and I think he should get a top 15 guy.
Oh yeah, this division is already stacked as fuck. Imagine throwing Choi in there. But guys, let's move on to the prelims. A lot of crazy stuff happened here. At the top, Anthony Smith, man. Apparently his friend passed away and like he had a really rough fight camp and all that.
His
So
friend
like,
and coach, I heard like it was
oh,
not just his friend, it's like one of his coaches, man. So like when he said, because at first I was like. At first, because I think in his post fight speech, he was saying like, I don't know how many more times I can do this without him, and I'm like, I was just thinking like, oh man, he just misses his friend. But then I'm like, when I read like it was like a coach, I'm like, oh, like that makes more sense. Like it is extra hard if it's like literally someone that is tied to your MMA journey specifically, you know?
yeah. And so like we always kind of just like shit endlessly on Anthony Smith. I'm gonna leave him alone today. He got his ass beat. It is what it is. Shout out Dominic Reyes. He looked good, man. Even though it was Anthony Smith, he looked good. It's nice to see him get back to back wins. I think he'll get an opponent in front of him now. But yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, Anthony Smith came out. I mean, like he looked like kind of shook up in the walk in and like all of that. He didn't look the most confident. I didn't know like he seemed like kind of checked out. But to his credit, for like a little bit of time, like for the first couple minutes, he did lock the fuck in when they started fighting. And for a while, I saw like kind of like a prime version of Anthony Smith, reminiscent of like the prime. He summoned like the old Anthony Smith for like a minute or two or three. And I thought like, man, maybe the parlay might be in trouble if Dominic Reyes gets chinned a little bit because like we know that Dominic Reyes' chin is not great. And Anthony Smith was throwing hard with some bad intention, but like towards the end of the round, I think he like lost it mentally. He started like putting his hands down and walking forward, like hit me, like just like eating jabs in the face, walking forward. And it was kind of like I think that Anthony Smith, I mean, I think Dominic Reyes said that he feels like he just wanted to feel something like physical to like kind of match what he's been feeling on the inside, which is bad, feeling pain and shit.
it's
So it
fucked
was
up.
kind of sad to see him like go out like that. And then in round two, like he clearly folded. Um, my nickname for Anthony Smith besides Lion Cup Smith is just like the acceptor. Uh, just because like he's very prone to just accepting bad positions and like kind of just trying to hold on to an arm, not really try to get up. If you put him against the cage, like in like so many fights, there's that classic Anthony Smith image of him turtled up, damn near in the fetal position, on his hands and knees against the cage, getting ground and pounded on, kind of maybe trying to hold on to an arm or kind of turtled up. Like so many of his fights end that way. Um, he loses so many rounds that way. He just kind of accepts when bad things are happening to him. Doesn't really try to have grit. Doesn't really try to like scramble out of them or like improve his position. I feel like a lot of the times he's just content to survive. He kind of gives up any hope of like winning the fight and just kind of like becomes content to just like make it to the end, make it to the final bell.
Yeah, definitely.
And I kind of saw that again where he was just accepting a bad position and just content with the fact he wasn't getting beat too bad, I guess. Like the strikes, he was getting punched on, but like it wasn't at like no one strike was like so damaging. It was just kind of the accumulation and the fact that he just wasn't moving. He clearly had like lost his will to fight, and I think that whoever the ref was at the time just kind of saved him from himself at that point.
It's very obvious, and this is gonna sound super like obvious, like duh. He does not like getting punched or hit. He does not deal with getting hit well. Like there's certain fighters you could hit him with a flush head kick, and they'll just like it looks like it got hit by nothing. Anthony Smith, I don't know. It's definitely a mixture of a chin and just like heart, I guess. I'm not sure what it is, but he does not react well, especially lately, like getting touched up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of the bigger like separators between fighters because fighters that like believe in their chin, they're sometimes more willing to like hang in the pocket and like try to slip and rip. I feel like Kai Asakura, that's like his biggest strength, I would say, based on like actually watching a lot of his fights in the lead up to this, just so I can be more informed. Like he's one of those guys, like he will hang in the pocket just in the belief that like his strike will be more damaging than yours. That is a trait that like for fighters that have a good chin, that does serve them well, where like you're not as like it allows you to be a lot more of a crispy striker if you kind of believe in your chin a little bit, or if you're like willing to
Good
trust
point.
that your strikes will be more damaging than the one that you're gonna take. Anthony Smith, like many other fighters, to be fair, like and like me, probably in real life, if someone big was like hitting me with heavy shots, I think I'm gonna like try to get out of there more so than like try to hang it and like fire back, you know. But like some people, like you said, kind of relish in the firefight. They're like a Mike Perry type. I would say Mike Perry like the exact opposite. Like he like likes to get hit a little bit. But like you said, Anthony Smith, he is more likely to like shell up or like stop throwing his own output if he is getting touched up. So that is a very real like detriment to him.
All right, though, guys. Let's keep going. Vicente Luque is back. He got a really impressive win over Garimbo. Locked up that Darce after knocking him down, choked him out cold. But guys, let's move on to this featherweight bout. Sterling versus Evilov. Very close fight. A lot at stake here. Um, I think the right guy won is very close. What were you guys' thoughts on what happened?
Um, Aljo almost fucking did it again, man. It was pretty fun to hear the USA chants for Aljo. I thought that that was pretty cool for him, just because like it's good to hear him get a little bit of love. I mean, for all the shit that we and many others give Aljo, and sometimes for good reason. The man is like a future champ and like one of like the great, one of the better bantamweights of all time, honestly. Um, and I think that before he became champ, he was pretty likable. But I mean, based on how he won the belt, I feel like the fans kind of turned on him and kind of never went back. So this was like a good, you know, he was like winning the fight against Evelev and like looking really impressive early. Um, just a little more showing a little more urgency and getting to the positions he needed to get to. Getting to the back. Um, just doing his Aljo thing, man. Really, just being a human backpack. I think that it kind of seemed like Evelev was a little more passive in his grappling than he usually is. I think he was like he spent most of the fight grappling like reactionarily as opposed to like offensively and aggressively. I think that that was like making the difference early. Aljo came out with a more assertive game plan. Clearly put the pressure on early and clearly like made a point to like I'm not gonna wait for Ivalev to start grappling me. I'm gonna like be the one to like dictate it on my terms. And I think that that was helping him a lot early in rounds. I thought that Ivalev didn't have enough urgency. He kind of camped out and like just let the time tick away like in like maybe like not 50-50 positions exactly, but like maybe 60-40 positions where like not too much is happening. But like let's say he's like Aljo's like he's at risk for Aljo to take his back or something, but he's not like, he doesn't have the back yet. There was a lot of like stalematage in the grappling in this fight where like Aljo just had the slightly better position and was just kind of like snagging the round away. We see that in round one, and then we seen that in round three for like the first like three like 2/3 of it at least before Evelev was able to like turn the position and actually get some damage off, which like snagged him the round. I thought that the right guy won this fight. Aljo made it a lot more close than I think a lot of us thought going in, but I mean, you have to at least throw some type of strikes. Like I feel like that's just all that Aljo kind of is missing to his game. Like he's great at getting to the positions he wants, but he doesn't do anything damaging. He's like very much a position over submission or like position over damage guy. And that kind of costs you when you might get this control time, but you're not doing anything. And then like maybe for like a couple minutes, like maybe for like for 2 minutes or 1 minute, your opponent actually get some strikes off on you. Like most judges are not gonna reward you if you don't even try to throw strikes. And I feel like that's just what cost him in this fight. In the third round, had he just thrown a couple rabbit punches here or there, I think he could have won the fight pretty easily. But you know, you live by the fucking backpack, you die by the backpack at least, you know? So I feel like he kind of deserves a loss just for his lack of uh his lack of output in the striking department, even within the grappling.
Well, that's how he usually is in his fights. It's usually what he brings. But I had to go back and watch this one. Um, it was pretty close. Like I figured it'd be. I figured Aljo would give Evilov some problems in the wrestling and grappling, but I would say they were basically evenly matched in that area. I think Evilov just had like the slight push in the later rounds to kind of just take them. But I mean, I was impressed by Aljo just sticking with Evilov. I mean, undefeated fighter, kind of the same thing as Gary. I was impressed by him, but definitely thought he lost the fight. Even though I thought it was close, I thought he lost. I think both like if they want to take on someone like Taporia, definitely need to work on the striking if
Absolutely.
they want any chance.
But yeah, to touch on that, Nick, it seems Lopez or Volk, I think, will get a shot before Evilov, but Evilov is definitely up next to get a title shot. He's undefeated, just beat a former champion. We kind of already talked about how, I mean, really nobody right now looks like at featherweight can beat Taporia. So, but this was a huge win for him.
One big thing I want to say before we get off this fight is like Aljo, how he's dealing with the physicality at 45. I feel like he's filled out really nicely for this weight
Oh
division.
yeah,
He's still a big motherfucker in there. Like he was dealing with the strength of Evelev just fine. I kind of thought that he was gonna. I mean, because he tends to like fade a little bit. Um, which I think is partially why he's not a little more active in his grappling sometimes, is because like he starts to like manage his gas tank. If he can get to the back and steal a round, he just will do that and then save the gas tank for like, another round. Which like, in his little greasy, slimy way of fighting, it makes sense somewhat, but like from a fan perspective, like it does get annoying. So I see why like he does receive some hate for that. But on the flip side, from his like perspective of just trying to get the win, I do understand it with his propensity to gas out. I kind of did think that like he would hang in the grappling well early, but like kind of fade, and that kind of proved true every round. There was typically a turning point where like Evelev, once he started to get his grappling off, and Aljo was a little more gassed out. I mean, Evelev clearly had more like slickness to his grappling to me. He had more more skill or like more options in the grappling. He like got to his positions in different ways more so. And like once the scrambling started and Aljo was a little more gas, like Aljo was like a slight step behind in the grappling. But then Evil once he got his positions, he would just throw strikes, and then like that just won him the rounds, man. That just won him the rounds.
yeah. I think Sterling's stock is starting to rise a little. That Cater one was boring, but it was a good dub, and this was a super entertaining fight. Um, all right, though, guys. Anything else we want to touch on before we wrap it up on the prelims?
Yeah, let's talk about a couple more fights. Let's touch on this Randy Brown fucking Brian Battle fight. I would say kind of a letdown in terms of excitement factor. Crowd was booing Brian Battle. I thought that he deserved the win. Randy Brown came out, swinging, came out crispy with the striking. kind of seemed like Brian Battle was kind of managing his energy a little bit, letting Randy kind of tire himself out. He was a lot more passive early on, and I think he kind of like conceded the first round. It kind of looked like Randy might just like, walk away with the fight, but instantly in round two, Brian Battle came out with a different kind of energy, started getting on the front foot, initiating the clinch. We see that those 4 pounds may have played a big factor in this fight. The 4 pounds that Brian Battle missed weight by, just because Brian Battle clearly, when it came to the clinch positions, was able to kind of manhandle Randy Brown and kind of like not manhandle him to the ground necessarily, but just hold him against the cage and not let him do shit really. Keep his arms elevated, keep landing like a bunch of little sneaky knees to the body, just enough to score and hold the position. He wasn't just like holding him against the cage and not doing shit. He would throw like little punches or like knees to the body, and the knees to the body were starting to really add up on Brandy Brown. Sapped his gas tank a little bit extra. And I think Brian Battle, this was a big win for him. If he's gonna keep climbing up the ranks of welterweight, he's gonna have to dial in on his nutrition or whatever. He's made the weight before, so I don't think it's gonna be too much of a problem. But like, you can't be missing weight by 4 pounds. Or like one more miss like this, and they're probably just gonna force him back up to 185, which I think that like his physique and strength and shit is way better served at 170, at least for now. So I hope that he can lock in because I don't want to see him. I don't think he does as well as he has been doing at 185. But I fuck with Brian Battle, so I just wanted to shout him out. I know he's getting a lot of flack, but a win is a win. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And Randy Brown's no slouch. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quick. You guys got anything else to say on that fight?
Not really. I always kind of hold a grudge against people that miss weight, especially by a crazy amount. But Battle's an entertaining guy. I like Brown a lot too, but I don't really have much to say on this one.
Yeah, all I'll say is it was razor close. I'd
Yeah,
say this was the closest fight of the night for me. But I slightly leaned battle, but like barely.
Yeah,
that's fair.
if it went the other way, like no one can argue based on how that fight played out, I would say.
Mhm.
But up
Um,
next, wait, go ahead.
oh no, I was up next. I was just gonna touch on this very depressing Weidman fight. It was also just depressing because I have it on a parlay, but just seeing Weidman get done like that was kind of, it just sucks. It just sucks.
I also had him on a parlay, and I think that I have a gripe with Mark Smith off this fight, just because like yes, he did eat a lot of unanswered shots, kind of, but like he was moving and fighting in there. Like I think that like a part of the psyche of the ref has to be like when it's only 10 seconds left in a round, like and a guy is like doing enough to survive, you have to like just like it wasn't like one final shot landed that was so bad that he had to stop it. Like it was just Wyman was fine. You know what I mean? Um, he kind of just got pinned in a bad spot. He was doing enough with his legs to kind of frame and like limit Anders' punching angles. So like none of them could like land with too much like power. I mean, it wasn't a good visual him just getting pinned and like pounded on a little bit slightly, but like I just thought he was doing enough to like stay in the fight. So I was a little bummed out that they like kind of took it out of his hands and what might just end up being his retirement fight. And a fight that like was obviously going to be 1-1 going into the fucking third round. And Anders had gassed himself out pretty well, like throwing a lot of strikes, going for that finish. So I really wanted to see what round three was looking like. And I think that like Chris Weidman, I feel like sometimes like with Cannonier and his loss to Pariah or like this fight, like you have to let these older fighters specifically kind of like go out on their shield a little bit more. I feel like because like they don't have the climb back ability as like of like a younger fighter who you're like saving them from themselves so that they can like have a longer career and shit. With these older guys, like this might be it, bro. So if they're still in the fight, give them a chance, bro. Give them a chance. Like after the fight, Dana White called for Whiteman to retire, which like I'm not mad at honestly. I mean, he's clearly not what he once was, but like I thought that this was a fight that he may have had a chance to come back and win in the third round, and like to just take it out of his hands like that kind of sucked.
It
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 just
sucks, man. Especially with these older fighters and fighting, man, it's so hard for them to let go. I feel like compared to other sports, just because at one time Chris Weidman was champion of the world on top of the MMA world, knocking out Anderson Silva, and just injuries, age catches up to you, and in a sport like this, it just you know it's tough. It's tough to let go.
if that was the last that we've seen of him, shout out him for coming back as well as he did from the leg break. That shit was
Got it.
never that shit was never promised. So I will give him mad props for that. So many people would have just hung it up. He already had his money. He had already accomplished it. But like you said, it's hard for these fighters to give it up, man. Being a fighter is like in your DNA, and like compared to other sports, I think that like just being a person, being a man in general, but like I guess to a lesser extent, like a fighter in general, like there's a certain part of like fighting in general or in combat that is just like kind of core to like I think everyone's like pride in a way, especially when like you are literally a professional fighter. It's hard to like admit to yourself that you can't do that anymore. Or you know what I mean? Like especially when like you're going easy in the gym and your sparring partners aren't trying to take your head off because they respect you, and then like you're doing well, you're feeling good in there, and then you get to the actual fight situation and like you're like like my brain is there. I've been learning more than I ever have, but my body just doesn't respond the way it once
Yeah.
did.
It's
And I
just
feel like that's just like kind of hard to admit to yourself, but if this is the last that we've seen of Whiteman, fucking hats off to him for a hell of a career. The one fight I would say I would not mind shamelessly if they ran is like him versus Nick Diaz. If Nick Diaz is really intent on fucking sticking
I'm
around,
cool
just
with that, man.
they're both like on that same kind of washed old man trajectory, and like you know, I don't think that either one of them would probably hurt the other significantly. So I think that that's like a low risk kind of fun fight if they both want to go out and have one more fight against someone that's kind of more so their speed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Hey, throw him Crone. Throw him Crone.
Tom Crone, that's crazy.
And then Mario Bautista after that.
Tell Crone to get bigger. Just get bigger.
Like it doesn't. Yeah, just catch weight, get bigger, Crone.
Let's see what else is there. Joshua Van got a very impressive dub. Very high on him.
Good
Future
fight.
champ. I'm calling it now, man. I'm a Joshua Van stan,
He,
bro.
he, he looks like that. He really does.
At 23 years old, I mean, the kid never breathes hard. Like even after like all that wrestling pace, even after all that output, like he's right there in your fucking face. He clearly has 5 round cardio to me, and like give it. I would like to see him like get the ability to melt someone over 5 rounds because like he has clearly like solid enough defensive grappling to prevent himself from getting like completely controlled. And like if you're gonna try to that hard to get him down because his striking so crisp, like you're gonna tax your own gas tank, and he doesn't get tired. So I can see him like thriving in like a 5 round type fight environment. He's 23. He's only gonna get stronger. He's only gonna get better. He's only gonna get more power in his strikes. He's gonna only get better with his grappling. Like I feel like sky's the limit for this kid, and like I'm really excited anytime that he gets in the octagon. This really was a big step for him, and I think that he passed with flying colors. So future champ Van, I'm calling it now. Like we're gonna in like 3 4 years, we're gonna come back to this pod and like be like, I did call that shit early.
Yeah, when him and Daniel Zellhuber are future champions, I agree.
Oh God.
All right, guys. Before we wrap up this video, give me a. Or wait, is there any other fights you guys want to touch on? Or
Clay Guida a goob. It's time to retire.
call him a goob, bro.
He's a goob.
What is?
Um,
Damn.
just I vote him legend of the sport. No
The Carpenter.
no real shade to him, but like you couldn't last a round and a half, dude. Like, come on, bro.
Oh, that's why you called him a
You
goob.
couldn't you couldn't last a round and a half, bro. Just the IQ is just not great.
He's. I mean, yeah.
I mean, like you're gonna shoot takedowns on this man and like a frantic takedown on him, and he literally just subbed you up by a calf slicer in a grappling match. Like, I think that like you need to test his striking a little bit more. I think that Chase Hooper, I'm really impressed with him. Like, I think he's really coming into his own. I think that he's filling out nicely for the weight class and like finally getting some of that man strength. We keep talking about it every passing fight. Like he keeps looking better and better in there, and like his striking is. I don't want to say catching up to his grappling because his grappling definitely always going to be his like calling card, but it's catching up. Like he's closing the gap at least to where he's not like outmanned and like desperate on the feet anymore. He can hold his own in the striking and like when you have grappling as dangerous as he does and you can hold your own in the striking, like that makes for a very promising combination. So I am excited to see how far he can take this thing, but like with every passing fight, like my faith in Chase Hooper does get restored a little bit. I thought that I was pretty high on him early in his career because his grappling was like really good for his age and like for his, slender build and shit. But because he was so deficient with his striking, I kind of like mentally, I don't want to say wrote him off, but like I kind of put like more of a ceiling on him just because I didn't think that his striking would ever get to like the levels it's starting to reach now. So props to him for like actually improving and like locking in on the areas that he needs improvement on. As well as just, growing into his own body, continuing to work out and like, get stronger in there. So props to him. And then I hope Clay Guida retires after this one, but because there's a lot of fucking legends that just are insistent on sticking around, we can just do what Bellator does and just have a legends division at this point, bro. Fuck it.
All right, guys. Before we wrap it up, give me a performance of the night and a fight of the night.
Performance of the night, I'm going to have to give it to. I mean, it's a couple, man. It's a couple. I mean, Vicente Luque, like he went hard.
Kind
That
of, yeah.
Darcy locked up was like pretty nasty. Um, Duho Choi performance of the night. I would probably give it to Duho Choi actually, just because like he start to finish dominated in a fight that he was the underdog, and that's really impressive.
What about you,
And then
Clay?
after that, I
Oh,
guess
sorry.
Pantoja as well could,
Yeah, yeah. And
qualify
Pantoja.
because he made light work of Kai, to be honest.
Yeah, I would say Pandoja for me.
What about your fight of the night?
Ooh, this one's actually tough, I think. Actually kind of tough. Mm,
Bryce Mitchell, Kron Gracie, no, I'm playing. I mean, it's shit, bro.
Maybe the Sterling. No, never mind.
I feel like this just wasn't that kind of card, man. It's just like, okay,
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at it. It's like
I
like
mean,
there were no really like banger fights that were like, back and forth on the feet type. Like what your traditional fight of the night caliber fights are. This was like way more like high level shit, high level chess matches in these fights. The fight that I got the most enjoyment out of was the Ian Gary Rachmanov fight, but like objectively, it was not like a barn burner. So you know
I'm
that's
gonna
really that's the fight I would say like I got the most joy out of. But this card didn't really have any like back and forth fights.
yeah, I'm gonna go Dirt and Van because that was the one that I felt like was at least the most action
that's fair.
on the feet. Um and back and forth. Like it was a lot of just dominating fights for the most part, a lot of wrestling, and that's kind of what it was. There wasn't like that back and forth crazy fight, so that was the closest for me, Dirt and Van.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree with you.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that concludes our recap of the card. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments. Our next video is going to be our 2024 MMA awards. We're gonna do like best fighter, best fight, best female fighter, all that good stuff. So please tune into that. Should be a really fun video. Please check out the TikTok and the short. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.
Gotcha. Peace.